Right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Norwich Guide Dog Forums in Conversation With. And today I have the huge privilege of welcoming Dawn Cobb, who is a dear friend of mine from many years now. And Dawn lives in the Northwest, so it's Norwich reaching over to the Northwest to one of our probably, best fundraisers, supporters, generally. I wrote a bit about Dawn's biog, and she's just an inspirational woman who just makes guide dogs the amazing organization that they really are. So we've kind of come full circle. We started off the In Conversation series with talking to Zorin, my guide dog's puppy walkers, and then we've then moved on. We had a special last week with Becky Jago, and I also talked to Stephen Bradnock, who is the centre manager at the Nancy Oldfield Trust, which provides accessible boating for all disabilities, really. And Fiona Clark, obviously, because she came on to talk to us about anxiety and how to manage anxiety, because with everything that's going on, I suppose us visually impaired people almost own anxiety in all its shapes and forms. So I thought I'd introduce you to Fiona and a couple of her techniques to help with that. So anyway, welcome, Dawn. You look terrified. It's just us. It's just us having a cup of coffee. It's absolutely fine. So, Dawn, would you, for everybody in Norwich, would you introduce yourself and tell us what you do within guide dogs and how long you've been doing it for? And yeah, we'll just take it from there.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. This is, although, as Lana says, I've been involved in guide dogs now for 21 years. This is something quite new to me, actually, speaking virtually. Normally, I would talk and have an audience there that I can respond to, but so please bear with me if I lose my train of thought. Plus, I haven't got my best buddy at the side of me. Well, I have. He's asleep on the floor next to me. But normally he's entertaining the audience while I talk. As I say, I've been a volunteer now for 21 years with guide dogs. It all started as a result of somebody asking me to teach their child to play the piano. I'm a piano teacher, private piano teacher. That family had a genetic eye condition. So I started to teach this young lady, which led to my pupils raising funds for guide dogs, which then in turn led to me helping with store and street collections, and then joining a branch. My branch now is 6 miles from Manchester city centre. Not an affluent area, but very, very generous people and a wonderful community to fundraise in.
I think that's what I find when I spent my time in Manchester. It was just one of the most amazing times of my life. It was, everybody is just so lovely. So, whatever the background, I think kindness sort of runs through the community, doesn't it, Dawn?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to raise more funds from an affluent area to a less privileged area. I have a memory of doing a collection many years ago in a very poor part of Manchester, not the Tameside area, and we turned up with all our volunteers on our little mobile to this shopping precinct, and the security guards having an absolute breakdown that we thought we could do a collection in this area. We were more likely to come across an armed robbery and actually make any funds. It turned out to be one of the best collections that we'd ever done. People were not able to give large amounts, but every single person that walked past us actually donated to guide dogs. And to me, that's what it's all about. You give what you can give, and the amount doesn't matter. Every penny counts towards making a guide dog.
It does. It does. And actually, I think it's just the fact that everybody felt part of the family, really, because I think this is part of what I'm doing here now, is I want to make it, the guide dog family isn't just the service users, isn't just the staff, isn't just the immediate people. It's actually it reaches far out to anybody who helps a guide dog owner overcome barriers, or get the right bus, or make sure we don't get run over, or who is mindful when they buy their electric car that it's not that they don't put us in difficulty with it. It's more far reaching than you would immediately think. And people donating and those like that, it just means that the dogs, because they are so amazing with what they do, just do touch the hearts of so many people. It's really quite incredible. So yeah.
Absolutely. Without the dogs on the collection, you might as well be invisible, I have to say. A dog beside you is what will draw the people towards you.
So you've mentioned Eddie. How long have you had Eddie for, and what was his story? How did he end up with you?
So Eddie is my second rehomed guide dog. I had Hawks first. Hawks was a Labrador Retriever cross. Eddie now is 10. Hawks was rehomed to me. He was about 2.5 because he developed a skin condition. Eddie, he decided that he was not going to get in a car anymore, and no matter what I would put on the back seat, half a chicken could be on the back seat, and Retrievers, Labradors are just stomachs on legs, basically.
Yes.
There was no possibility. So now whenever I go and do talks, I have to pick him up and put him in the car. So he had to be retired because his aversion to the car. But a typical, those of us that have got golden retrievers will know that a golden retriever, you give it a command and it will look at you, say, I'm thinking about it, and I'll do it in my own time anyway.
Yes, it goes to committee, doesn't it? It's like, I've got that. I've registered that. I'll be with you in well,
I'll get back to you when I'm ready to do it.
Yeah.
A Labrador, you will give it a command, and the Labrador will say, please let me do it.
Yes. Well, you give a collie cross a command, and they're already. So, have you run out of commands to give me? Because I live to serve, right?
Yeah. So, but Eddie, he's an absolute star. He just loves being the centre of attention. We go everywhere I go. He goes with me. Obviously for the talks. Sits there, and this is me. He's got his own pass from the local sixth form college, because we go there frequently to do different events. We go to do talks in the primary schools, which is one of his favourites, especially the reception classes, because they normally have the fruit baskets ready for their morning break. That's the first thing he makes his way towards, is the food. And all children smell of food, don't they? So he's rather fond of the reception children. We did, we went, I can't remember where, I think it was Buxton actually, and we were outside the Opera House, and a choir of young girls from a private school, all beautifully dressed in their black outfits, waiting to go on stage. They saw Eddie, and he was underneath a mountain of all these girls. I just got hold of the end of the lead, and then the teacher called them. We were on stage. They all stood up. Well, black and a retriever. They were just covered in hair. I just had to run. There was nothing for it. You just had to go. And the teacher is having a breakdown, trying to get all the hairs off all these girls. Just dived on Eddie. He's fabulous. He loves it. He loves being the centre of attention. We were at the sixth form college about a year ago now, doing one of the, well, they used to be called the puppy rooms, now they're meet and greet.
Right.
Where the students come in between their exams to sit with the dogs for 10 minutes. A great fundraiser that. It relieves the stress between the exams for them. We then they'd done a fundraising event in the sort of the cafeteria area and sold all the cakes, and I'd got a couple of new dogs that was their first time actually out collecting with us. And that this particular dog, we were all sat down with the students. This particular dog sat underneath the chair, and we thought, wow, she's been absolutely amazing. She's so quiet, she never moved. Anybody that knows me knows that I have a love of cake.
Yes.
It turns out that this dog had found my bag with
No.
6 cupcakes that I'd bought from the store, and was quietly
Munching.
eating away through my box of cakes. She's been taught a little bit of etiquette from now on, how to behave herself once on collections, especially around Dawn's cakes.
Yes, it's especially when they're Dawn's cakes. Yes.
Dawn's cakes. Nobody touches Dawn's cake.
No.
No, you know that, Lana.
Well, yes, I do. I'll never forget. Sorry, you'll forgive me for this one. Dawn, bless her, Dawn adores cake. I don't think I know anybody in the world who loves cake quite as much as Dawn. And Dawn one Lent, bless her, decided to give up cake. And I actually had serious concerns for you, didn't I, Lovey?
It was a bad time in my life, that.
I can imagine.
Never to be repeated. I know people give up things for Lent, but never again will it be cake.
I can imagine Eddie wanting to go out. Look, I'll get you some, Mum, just please.
Oh, he just used to hide in the corner. Just leave her alone. It'll nearly be over in another 5 weeks.
It'll be over soon. So how many schools? So you go to schools lots. Is this are these are sort of arrangements that you've got long standing already? How many schools do you have on your patch that you go to, and just on the
it varies. The schools, depending on what particular topic they are studying at the time. You'll find that a certain time of year you'll get a year group from virtually every school in the area. We are studying animals and people who with disabilities that animals help. So then you have to go to virtually every school because that is their topic at that time of the year. The local colleges tend to be more that you go back regularly. Once you've been to a school, perhaps you don't go back then for a couple of years. It's not just schools that I go into. I will do that. One of the best things that possibly is going to be good throughout the next few months with COVID is the outdoor events, as golf clubs.
Yes,
golf clubs are very good way of fundraising, because you have the captains that will choose guide dogs as their charity for the year. So every event and every match and charity match that they do throughout that year will all go towards their target at the end of the year. And of course they will invite captains from all the surrounding golf clubs to play at their matches. So you get one golf club that leads then to another one. I remember doing one locally a couple of years ago when we set up the gazebo on the first tee, which was great because that's where they were setting off. The problem was it was also at the back of the 18th tee. So as all these golf trolleys were setting off, we did notice that quite a lot of them were rattling. And then one of them actually went past us with a golf buggy with optics on the back of it. I did ask what the noise was and was told that it was all their refreshments for the way round. So by the time they'd got to the 18th tee, they had absolutely no chance of hitting the ball anywhere near the holes. So we were getting all the balls hitting the gazebo, fortunately, hitting the gazebo from, by the time they've done a 2 or a 3 hour round. And then of course they like you to the presentation, they will present you with a check at the end of the evening. So then that meant that you'd go to the dinner afterwards.
Nice.
And there would be more alcohol involved. By the time they came to giving you the check, and would usually be about midnight, everybody, not me, I don't drink.
No, you're teetotal, Dawn, aren't you?
Yeah, everybody would be very, very happy. And it didn't matter what I said to them. I could have said I was from any charity. Midnight,
You still would have been glad, didn't you?
Thank you very much, I'll have the check. And then and that's with the golf clubs, that is the cycle. And they're all the same, but it's a great fundraiser, golf clubs. So maybe, you know, your branches in the area could perhaps get in touch with the local golf clubs now they're all back again, if they can persuade the captains to take them on.
Yeah, that's a possibility. So I mean, so what personally draws you to guide dogs? Because I mean, all that you do, all the fundraising, you know, eventually sort of leads into that. That's Zoran, don't know if you can hear him. That all leads into you know, the kind of I suppose the top tier of it is the partnership, isn't it? It's the unit when a person with sight loss qualifies with a new dog, and that partnership. So how does it, is there connectivity between what you do and that end result? Do you see it? I mean, what does that do? Because you're fully sighted, you know, you've never lived with sight loss yourself, but you know, you do so much to help us, you know, visually impaired for whatever reason. And it's, you know, what is it that still, you know, keeps you going?
I think I've made many friends over the years of guide dog owners, and the one thing that everybody always says to me is that it's that one word, it's independence, isn't it?
Yeah. And
to have the opportunity to live a normal life with the freedom that the rest of us take for granted. I suppose one thing sticks in my mind. There was a volunteer a few years ago that came to me to join me on a collection, and that person was very quiet to start with, and we started chatting, and they were telling me that their life really was meaningless. Their life used to be meaningless. They would go out, nobody would notice them. They didn't see the point of actually being around because there was nothing to look forward to in their life. And it actually led to that person suffering with severe depression, and they attempted to take their own life. They were at such a point that there was no meaning to their life anymore. Fortunately, they didn't succeed. They were put in touch with guide dogs, and after 18 months they became the very proud owner of a guide dog. The most poignant part of this is that that dog was actually born on the day that that person tried to take their own life.
That's so nice.
That person now, I see them on a regular basis. They have a full life. They've got a job. They just live life to the full, doing so many activities with their fabulous dog. And you know, that they say to me that they only got a life when that dog came along. And I always think, well, if I've done my little bit to help somebody like that, then I have to carry on doing what I'm doing. You know, I'm doing something meaningful that ultimately is going to help somebody else that needs it.
Yeah, and it does, and you know that. I mean, you've known me long enough. You know, it gives you the opportunity to you know, reach for things that you perhaps never would have done. You know, to live your life to its fullest expression possible, because sight loss can be so isolating, and lockdown hasn't helped anybody much. And there's a brave new world out there that I don't think any of us guide dog owners particularly know how to manage, but we'll get by because the dogs are so adaptable and so amazing, and just they're just such incredible creatures. And I really like the way you said about Eddie, and you can't make a golden retriever do anything against their will, because what the guide dogs do, they do freely, don't they? They do absolutely freely. There's no coercion of any description in what they do. They just bond with their owners, and they willingly and happily sort of fulfill the commands that they're given to do their bit. It's like, I've never seen a happier guide dog than when you praise them because they've done something really well. They just love it, don't they? Absolutely love it. So
it annoys me the number of people that you will get when we're doing a collection, and people will come up and say, oh, it's so cruel making the dog do that. And I always say, well, a dog will not do anything unless it wants to do it. And do these dogs look unhappy? They are the most well looked after, the most loved and cared for dogs that you can imagine.
Because we all know just how precious they are. They're precious to us, and the limited time that we have. I mean, Zorin is my third guide dog now, and time just goes so quickly. It's I said, oh, he's my third guide dog. So I'm too young to have been on my third guide dog by now, but it just does fly by, really, doesn't it? Before you know it, it's
This is why fundraising, I mean, that is the area that I've always been involved in, because it's vital. We don't have enough dogs to fill the need. We have to raise the funds, we have to raise the profile. It's very difficult at the moment because we can't go out and do anything. We can't even empty the collecting boxes. We have although they are they are a great source of income, the big dogs in the supermarkets. That's another part of my role. We go counting the money, hours and hours of piles of pennies on the floor. It just reminds me, I have a new lady that has become a volunteer recently as a collecting box coordinator, and she's she empties the great big dogs in the supermarkets. The old style dogs are so difficult with the metal drawers to get into.
I can imagine.
There's one particular store we knew that we were really going to struggle to get this dog
over.
So this lady came with me. Rita's her name.
Hello, Rita. Thank you.
And we turned up at this store, showed our passes to the security guard, and then she proceeded to open a bag and show the security guard this crowbar. His face was absolutely think he's ever had anybody say, here's my crowbar, I'm coming out armed, ready to open the box. And people were just, we stood there, we had to prise the metal drawer off because there's so much money in it. And people were just walking back past us, but nobody, in the 2 hours that we were there, nobody stopped to question why we were emptying the guide dog box with a crowbar. It was
just because you look so respectable, Dawn, really.
That's it. Nobody's going to question us at all, are they?
No.
So now we go armed with a crowbar for all our collecting boxes. Fortunately, they're phasing that type out. Once we'd finished with that box, it was useless anyway. It totally destroyed it.
I can imagine. But they are so they are quite a centerpiece, aren't they, the big dogs? So especially in places where there's lots of passing people, it's they are but they are quite old, aren't they? So.
Well, we've got a new set coming in now, which are a lot easier. We don't need the crowbar for, but that particular box, we got £2,500 out of it.
Wow, that's
So
incredible.
a fabulous amount.
That is just extraordinary. So how is, obviously we're in a COVID world now, and we've had some announcement that lockdown is coming to an end, but I'm not even going to go there because it's a whole new can of worms for somebody who's visually impaired. But what does it mean for you as a branch organizer? You had a meeting recently, didn't you? It's about what the world is opening up for you to do, and so how has
it's very difficult because everything we do is interacting with the public. My talks, although talks are now starting to come in virtually. This
well, yes. Hello.
So, but I did have a meeting yesterday, and we were told that at this moment in time, we still cannot empty the collecting boxes. We still cannot bank any money. We still cannot do anything that involves social contact unless we could, what we did recently, again, what Rita did was she had a book sale. So in her garden, that's something, because it's on private property, we can maintain the social distancing. So we can do things like that, like the yard sales. Another idea that came up was that we can set up a Just Giving page. I've had several events that we've had to cancel over the last 3 months.
I can imagine.
Collections.
Yeah.
So we can set up, which I'm looking into, a Just Giving page and say that we would, on the 21st of this month, have been in this supermarket doing a collection, and see how it is working. Apparently it's been tried in a few parts of the country, so maybe that's something we can do. As you say, until the lockdown eases a little bit more, we really are restricted as to what we can do. And it's not just about raising funds, it's the contact that you have with the people in your group, the guide dog owners that give their time and that enjoy coming for a couple of hours to do a collection with us or an event. They miss that. And I know myself, when this lockdown first came about, I knew that I'm shielded. I don't know how long I'm going to be in, and I felt as if part of my life had been taken away from me. Guide dogs is all I've done. Well, it's not all I've done. I do have a choir as well. We raise lots of
funds. Teaching.
I teach, yes, and I do. But the guide dogs has been a part of my life for 21 years, and then suddenly it's right. You can't do anything. Just forget about it, and when we can all get back out again. And of course, none of us knew that it was going to be this long, did we?
It was impossible to tell. The elephant was coming over the mountain. We sort of stared at it, and then all of a sudden, it's like batten down the hatches. It's here. So, it's
so at the moment, there's very little we can do in fundraising. So we will just have to make the best of what we're given.
Well, that's what I've been doing at Norwich. Really, it was because we have the guide dog forums. I don't think you have forums set up your neck of the woods, but it's basically we meet quarterly at this little hotel in Norwich called the Annesley Hotel. And we have guest speakers who can range from anything from, somebody from the planning department at Norwich, from the bus companies to the train companies, just to talk about accessibility issues that we as service users have. And it was just when that came to a complete abrupt stop, it was like, well, we don't want to give that up, because actually, you know, now more than ever, we need that contact with guide dogs. We need that contact with the outside world to, you know, to explain that, yes, you're doing X, but, you know, as visually impaired people, we have different needs. So, you know, can you please be mindful, etc. So last week we had the Guide Dog Forum on Zoom, and we had Graham Kensick come to us, who is in charge of, you know, all the puppy training and dog training at Guide Dogs. And next time we're meeting on the third Thursday of the month, we've got Chloe Smith, who is the Norwich North Member of Parliament. So, and she actually would not have been able to come to a real forum, because the real forum usually meets when Parliament is sitting, and so she wouldn't have been available. But because we're doing it on Zoom, and because of the way it falls, she'll be able to join us for a couple of hours, and I think that's just amazing. So there's, you know, there's positives and negatives coming out of this, because, you know, who knows when we can next meet physically and give each other a hug again.
Can't wait for the day.
And just go, phew, that was difficult. So, you know, in the meantime, there's platforms like this, and, you know, social media, where things are possible. It's not the same. Clearly, it's not the same, but it's also not nothing. And it's, you know, because you know, you probably wouldn't have been able to come to a Norwich Guide Dog Forum. It'd be, you know, far too long to travel there and back for, you know, just a bit of a chat, really. But you know, this way we.
I do know that part of the world. I know
you do. I know you do, because I was going to come on to that, because this week is also Armed Forces Week, isn't it? And yeah, that's where Dawn's connection to Norfolk comes in, doesn't it? Dawn, do you want to tell us?
Well, the Armed Forces Week is something that's very close to my heart. And the only 2 weeks of the year that I won't do any guide dog collections are when it's the sale of the poppies, because I will always be involved with the poppy collection and the remembrance events. Norfolk, I have the connection there because my daughter and son-in-law were both stationed at RAF Marham for a couple of years. So I've got very happy memories of going to a lovely little coffee shop in, I think it's Down Market.
Down Market, yes, very fun.
Beautiful cake there.
Yes.
Remember that. That is another area of my life that I like to do the fundraising for. I was very lucky. My children returned home safely from tours of Afghanistan.
Yes. How many tours did they do?
My daughter only did one tour of Afghanistan, but my son-in-law, I think he did about 4 or 5 tours. So they returned home safely. Lots of mothers were not as fortunate as me. So I set aside those 2 weeks in November to concentrate solely on fundraising for the Poppy Appeal. But yes, they're not at Marham now. They're in Lincolnshire now. They've moved.
Yes.
So the journey is not quite so bad. I think it used to take me about a 5.5-hour drive to get there. Now it's not too bad. It's only 3 where they are now.
Well, you know,
I'd give anything at the moment to do that 5.5-hour drive to get.
I'm going to say the cake in Lincolnshire isn't that great, but you know, I could be wrong.
Yeah, but my granddaughters are.
I know. Right. Well, it was lovely chatting to you, Dawn, and I'm so grateful to you for coming on here and talking to us about what you do, and yes, oh, love you to the moon and back. It was so great catching up. So miss you. We're going to have to meet up at some point again when all of this is over and done with, and yeah, we will.
Look forward to meeting Zorin.
Have you not even? Yes, but you
have not met him. No, only Clark.
You met him last year, honey, when I came up.
Oh, of course, yes, we met him.
Yes, yes,
I don't know where I am.
Yes, the guide dog who really didn't want to be there.
When we stood outside in the pouring rain for how long?
Yes.
I was busy. and he was
Yes.
having none of it.
How could you forget?
Yes, yes, I remember that. Yes, my brand new suede shoes.
Yep. And mine.
Yep. I do remember.
Waiting for the guide dog who would not spend.
No, he was having none of it, was he? No. I don't know how he'd managed to go. He's gone about 8 hours, hasn't he?
I think he went sort of like about 30 by the time he finally did something.
Yes.
So yes. So if you think you can ask a guide dog to do something they don't want to do, then no, they won't even do their business unless they actually want to do it. So.
Anyway.
Right. Thank you, Dawn, so much. Right. This guys wraps up this little series of In Conversation for June 2020. I'm hoping to be back in August, where I'll be talking to a few local businesses. It's all going to be about days out locally. So accessible days out from Norwich, where you'll be able to go with your guide dogs. I haven't got my full lineup ready. I was hoping to have it, ready for you to look forward to, but I'm still working on it. But we're hoping to be back in the first week of August with accessible days out. But for now, it's bye for me for June. And thank you for listening in for this first little series of In Conversation. And thank you to Dawn, who has brought us back from volunteer week in the first week to being a volunteer, amazing superstar volunteer in the last week of this series. So yeah, thank you so much, Dawn. And
thank you, Lana. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, oh no, absolute pleasure. We will have to catch up at some point really soon. So yeah.
Forward to it.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you very much. Bye.